Peter Mears, Director Canada for Barbados Tourism Marketing Inc.
Peter, thanks for joining Breaking Travel News.
Thank you.
So give us a sense of where you are on the recovery journey.
We're very pleased, actually. COVID, obviously, the idea of travel has had varying themes depending on the markets. Out of the Canadian market, where I'm resident, for instance, only recently did we see the final lifting of the last set of protocols. So officially, we're back to pre-COVID levels. It's been a little easier out of the UK and the US, and it's reflected in the numbers that we are seeing. Traditionally, the UK market would account for 40 to 45% of our business, and we're seeing that similar sort of percentage share, with the UK leading the way in the Barbados recovery. Interestingly enough, only 2 weeks ago, towards the end of September, Barbados kind of came back into a pre-COVID state in terms of our protocols as well too. And there were various iterations, different rules for vaccinated, unvaccinated, elements of quarantine, whatnot. So that's all gone, and we're welcoming one and all now. So I think it positions us very well for the coming winter season, and as I said, into 2023 and beyond.
And how does that reflected when it comes to connectivity and air? Where are you there?
Doing well. Most of our players have returned. We're fortunate globally to be in a very healthy position with a lot of our long-standing and even newer carriers. So you're talking obviously the long-standing relationships with the British Airways, the Virgin, the American, the JetBlue, the Air Canada, and then even within Latin America, recently resuscitating our relationship with Copa and KLM, Continental Europe. So obviously the idea of us forging those relationships and using those relationships to help us rebuild our sector is understandable. We are in a position where one of the things we are trying to be mindful of is ensuring that we have the capacity given the pent-up demand that we're seeing globally. The fact of the matter is travel, persons not being able to travel as freely as they would have wanted, and this is across all markets. Now those barriers have been broken down. So we want to make sure as best as possible we've got the level of demand. Sorry, you got to go again. You got to edit there.
Mm-hmm. That's cool.
All right.
Yeah.
We got to be certain that we have the level of airlift and capacity that can assist us in moving the demand to the destination, help us with our recovery.
Really interesting. And obviously that's air, but what about cruise? Cruise is really important to Barbados.
Doing very well, and I think TUI, for instance, has a very strong relationship with us for this coming winter season. I think two of their ships will port in, and that's going to be good for our hotel partners to pre and post opportunities. 390 sailings, I think, overall for the season, and that could give us close to 700,000 passengers in that regard. So we're very excited.
And what about events?
Huge for us. I sat in Canada and watched the English cricket team in Barbados in January for T20s, and then a test match in March.
You want to remind us who won?
Well, I simply will say, obviously, the Barmy Army are friends of Barbados, and the impact that they have on us and our local economy is something that we are very pleased with. But the idea that festivals and events can play an integral role in our recovery as well is something that we appreciate. The Food and Rum Festival perhaps is one of the best examples, where you bring together two elements that are very special and unique to Barbados. The food element, where it is known and accepted that Barbados is the culinary capital of the Caribbean. And then the rum, well, the world's oldest rum comes from Barbados, the birthplace of rum, 1703 Mount Gay rum, still made with a level of passion and unparalleled excellence that keeps it where it is some 300 years later. So the idea of a food and rum festival, I think, is very exciting, but also very relevant for a destination like Barbados. And those are some of the festivals and events that we think can take us into 2023 and beyond.
Really interesting. And obviously you've been welcoming back people from all over the world, including your friends in the UK, but you've also been doing some innovative stuff around emerging markets. Tell us about that.
Absolutely. In terms of the air services agreement that we certainly, Malaysia, Singapore, Qatar come to mind immediately as opportunities for us down the road, where in terms of signing the memorandums of agreement and the air service agreements, it now gives us the opportunity to start the conversations as it relates to the potential for commercial opportunities to come to fruition to Barbados from those regions. Let me go again.
Sorry.
International Assembly. Okay. So the signing of those agreements at this time, I think you're certainly going to see the benefit of that down the road. But the Qatar thing is very interesting because outside of that, even what they're doing to help us build up our aviation prowess on the ground in terms of our aviation authority and whatnot. I think that is to our favor as well.
That's really interesting. And lastly, tell us a little bit about some of the new developments that are going on in the market.
Well, I think probably the most top of mind one would be the development with Sam Lord's Castle with the Wyndham Grand Resort. You're talking in excess of 400 rooms, very eco-conscious project. And I think that fits very well into what we're doing from a sustainability standpoint. And they're to be commended for that because they've factored that in to the outfitting, I should say, of that property. You're talking, as I said, 400 rooms, a lot of meeting space, and that is going to be good for our efforts relative to the MICE market, also as it relates to destination weddings, and also as it relates to the idea of family travel. I think family travel in summer is one of the areas that would help us reduce the seasonality component, and I think that resort gives us a good chance in that regard. And then most recently, the Indigo Hotel, they broke ground last week, 132 rooms. I'm gathering that would probably take effect towards the end of 2024 into 2025. So you can see in a few years' time, we will have increased room stock, and that's going to help our performance from all markets.
What an exciting update. Thank you so much for finding time
Thank
to
you
tell
so
us.
very much. Thank you.